And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Musi.
And our guest is Danette Chavis. Welcome back, Danette.
Thank you.
To Let Them Talk. Really good to see you.
Thank you.
And unfortunate, though, the issue we're going to talk about, because violence is so out there in the last few days, but sort of the hidden violence, of course, and even the most insidious and the more insidious violence is the one that comes from the people who are supposed to be protecting our citizens. And when you feel that you cannot trust the policemen on the beat because they'll do what happened in the case of Ramarley Graham and follow them to their home and in the door into their home, shoot them in the head in front of their grandmother, in front of their brother.
Yes.
Then what is this, dare I say, Nazi Germany, 1932, or is this America?
That's a good question, and that's the question that I think that everybody in America should be asking right now. Because there seems to be a continual stripping away of rights, freedoms, and liberty.
That's right.
No, not yet. Hold on.
And the concern, too, of course, is that with any victim like that, there's a whole ripple effect. Like you said, there was a 6-year-old there, there's a grandmother there, there's all his friends asking, wondering what happened, how did something like this happen?
Exactly. And then you have the community at large, that's expected to rely on the police to protect them, to serve them, to come to their aid, and we find that they are the ones who are victimizing the very people that they claim to protect and serve. And this is something that we've seen across the United States at an escalating rate.
Now we have a call right now. Somebody seemed real excited by this issue. Do you want to, this early on, take that call and take? I'll if they're rude or disrespectful in any way, they're off.
No problem.
Let's see if it works. I don't know. Hi, you there? No, that's not it. Let's try the other phone. Hello, you're on.
I don't hear him.
I don't hear him. Hello? Well, we gave him a shot. Call up again. We'll try and take you next time, all right? You called so quickly that we really didn't get a chance to have you on. Hello? Hello?
Well, let's set the stage a little bit with
yes, we have to set the stage.
This situation.
And we're willing to take calls. Please call.
We're talking about police brutality, but we're also talking about this one particular case. So can you tell us a little bit about this young man?
Ramarley Graham?
Yes.
Hold on give us a minute to set things up here, guy. I know you want to be on, all right? But give us a minute,
wait for the
all right?
call, or?
Oops. Paul's got to handle that.
I got to handle
he's
this.
Close to that.
Hi, you're on.
Hello? You hung up on me.
Hello?
He said you hung up on him.
I didn't try and hang up on you. You're on now. Hello?
Hello? Hey, I got a question about... Hi, I got a question about Tim Tebow.
About Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow.
He's a football player.
A football player. No, we're not discussing
that.
Football. Sorry about that, but, we're trying
let's go back to
to find
the
somebody who
topic
has something to do about
and
this.
talk about Ramarley.
Yeah.
Well, what happened with Ramarley Graham is an 18-year-old young black male who police accused of having a weapon and failing to stop when they told him to do so. We later found out that not only did Ramarley Graham not have any weapon, but he wasn't running. He was calmly walking into his apartment, and then you see the police seconds behind him attempting to get into the door, because by the time they arrived to the home, Ramarley was already inside. But there they were, kicking and banging on the door with their guns in their hand. And once they finally got into the apartment, they went up to the bathroom where Ramarley was, and they shot him and they killed him.
So, while some folks watch football, others are interested in what's going on in our cities, on our streets. What's going on with those who are supposed to protect us right here in New York City.
It's a very important issue because you can't have law enforcement running wild through the streets. It appears that that's what they're doing. You have an incident with Tamon Robinson, who was ran over by a police officer in the cruiser. You have several other incidents. Ronaldo Chavis, you know, who was working in a store in the Bronx, his uncle's store, when it was being robbed. And when he heard that the police were outside and saw a chance to run out because the robbers ran to the back when they knew the police were outside, Ronaldo ran out the front door into what he thought was the safety of an officer who pulled his gun and shot and killed him.
Now, do you think that there's a basis of racism in this? And I'm not talking about individual racism. I'm not talking about one police officer being a racist. I'm talking about a pervasive societal racism that would cause even a black police officer to think less of a young black man.
Well, I tell you what, people in the black and Hispanic community have been saying for years that the issue with police is racist. But in light of stop and frisk, where the courts have said that stop and frisk were racially profiling blacks and communities, right now it's a non-issue as to whether it has to do with race. Of course it does. The courts have said so. The concentration of police is only in communities of black and Hispanic people. They are stopped, they are questioned, they are arrested, and issue summonses, which they have to come out of their pocket and pay for. Keep in mind, this is already a community of poor people that don't have money to be spending on summonses because an officer has to fulfill a quota. Stop and frisk are based on the fulfillment of quotas, not based upon whether or not somebody has committed a crime. And this is a policy of NYPD that the mayor and the commissioner both support and insist on implementing, despite the court's ruling that it was racially profiling blacks and Hispanics and did little or nothing to solve crime.
I think the mayors and the police have come out saying that the rationale, whether it's marijuana or suspicious behavior, is just that, a rationale that they wish they could just do it, like in England. I mean, in England they have sus laws. You can be pulled over. They don't have the same. They don't have to go through the same conniptions.
Probable cause.
They don't have to. They don't
example,
need any of that
right?
in England, right? They have laws that say policemen can stop anybody they feel like. They call them sus laws, and they pull over people incessantly. That's normal. I mean, you just have to put up with it. Now, there in England, the police don't carry guns, which means we don't hear so much about shootings going on. But in the United States, which has probable cause, certain law come up with some fiction.
Well,
to stop
constitutional
somebody.
requirements.
Right. There's a constitutional requirement that you have to come up with at least some rationale for pulling somebody over. And the mayor has said that's what it is. A
But the rationale cannot be that someone is young and black.
Right. So they make up other ones, and the mayor has admitted their rationales. He wishes for a man. I mean, you know, the Constitution is an impediment. He has admitted it. The police have admitted it in New York. The Constitution is an impediment for them to do their job, which is to basically search every young person of color in New York City.
Well, then in that case, thank God for the Constitution.
That's right.
Because if it wasn't for the Constitution, we would see worse violations than we have already been seeing. Mm-hmm. You know, people have been shot and killed. Okay, it's not just people being arrested, people being brutalized, people being issued summonses. Yeah. People have been shot and killed, unarmed, okay, and in their own home.
And innocent
and the problem with that is that there is no accountability, none whatsoever. An officer nowadays can run up into a home without permission, without a warrant, such as in the case of Ramarley Graham, shoot you, although you have no weapon, and no action be taken against him. The only reason that charges have been filed against him is because the family, the community, and ministers and politicians got out there in the streets and for nearly 5 months marched and protested and demanded that charges be brought against this officer. And that's how charges were brought against this officer. What we're saying, those of us who support national action against police brutality, because that's what I want to talk to you about, what we're saying is that enough is enough. You, as a victim of a crime, even and especially when the crime has been committed by law enforcement, and you live in the United States, and there are laws that say that there's liberty and justice for all, when you become a victim, you should not have to be made to march and beg and plead for justice. Those in office who have the authority to take action against police should do so, and do so immediately, because they're officers of the law. And when they violate it, swift action should be taken against them.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell us a little bit about the petition and why you're here.
The petition is a demand that is going to be sent to the United States Attorney General, whosoever he may be. Right now it's Eric Holder. And it's a demand for not only investigation concerning police brutality across the United States, but action. Okay? Because what happens is when a family loses a loved one to police brutality, and there's marches, and okay, the officer is indicted. Let's say he goes to jail for the rest of his life. It in no form or fashion stops the rest of law enforcement from committing the same crimes, the same murders. And so we have march after march, protest after protest, death after death, and it's not changing anything. We're saying we want the issue dealt with once and for all, not just here and not just there for those who are able to get their case into the spotlight, but for everyone across the United States, because enough is enough.
Mm-hmm. So what does the petition say? Do you have it? You have a copy
Yes,
of it?
I do. It's pretty, it covers...
Where can people find it? Is there a website
they
where
can
they can find
it? On change.org. If you can Google it by typing in the words National Action Against Police Brutality, and you will be directed to the petition, and you can sign it in less than 30 seconds. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can type in the search bar on Facebook, National Action Against Police Brutality. And we're looking to get at least 25,000 signatures, and then we intend to march to Washington and have them respond to these demands, because the government must respond to the will of the people. The signatures on this petition are representative of the will of the people. And if the government that is currently in office now maintains that they are representing the interests and concerns of the people, well, here it is. 25,000 signatures that are demanding an investigation and action concerning police brutality across the United States, and no is not an option. Not when you profess to be the land of liberty and justice for all.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, a couple of things. I want to be the devil's advocate just for a second and repeat some of the arguments they make. I think they're straw man arguments, and I'm presenting to you as a straw man argument because I want you to knock them down. They're saying, oh, there's so much violence in the black community and the Latino community that people are shooting each other, that we need the police to go there to find people carrying these guns, to stop them from going to a party or getting revenge or shooting their girlfriend or something like that. That this is all about.
I'm glad you asked the question, because many of us in the black community, I happen to be one of them, are sick and tired of them talking about the gun violence and taking no action because of it. The gun violence that occurs in the black community is a result of poverty. Okay, those crimes that are being committed are a result of people who are made to dwell in poverty. When you look all throughout the community, that's what you see, poverty. If you look at the education system that's supposed to prepare them to be a self-sustaining individual within society, they are crammed in the schools, 3 and 4 schools on top of one another. And if you ask the teachers will tell you, we've been defrauded out of our right to even teach. We can't even teach the way that we would like to teach. We have a city that dictates to us how to teach. And then when it falls apart, they say, oh, you're not doing your job. No, your policies don't work.
No, they want, I'm a teacher.
Sure, they blame the teachers.
And then they want, it's funny that in some states, I was just reading, it was sort of funny, the corporations, these corporations that are giving large amounts of money to the schools are providing the...
and taking over the schools
they're
in some
actually
cases.
providing the curriculum to the school to specifically train people in the school to work for their company.
Well, you know, a major problem that I see when you have a mayor who is a billionaire, his priorities are different than a public servant.
He's just trying to fill spots in his corporations instead of
Exactly.
teaching people how to think for themselves.
His objective is making money.
Yeah.
He's not into social programs.
No.
He wants to make money.
And he sold himself
Or
as
to improve people's
He sold
lives,
himself as
which
that
is-
kind of mayor. That I'm going to make the city better by running it like a corporation.
Well, the question needs to be asked: better for who?
Well,
right.
they did the same thing in Argentina.
Just
They
like-
did it in Italy. They did it. It's called fascism.
Just like his affordable housing. He touted, we're going to have affordable housing. Affordable for whom?
Yeah.
Okay, there's housing if you can afford it. Okay, but then again, That's his objective. Okay, it's not serving the needs of the people. You might not like it, but you're in office. Okay, that's not your own CEO. You can't be the CEO. You can't call New York City your own private firm and run it the way you want to.
Or my own private army, I think was his exact words.
Oh,
The
yes.
police
Well,
are
that
my
was
own.
his-
He goes back
have
and
my
forth
own-
from
my
being
own private army.
the CEO, and then he's the military chief, you know, in charge.
Yeah.
Okay, he supersedes the
Right.
commissioner
I
and
don't see-
claims NYPD it's his operation.
When you see, as in coming back to the Marley Graham case, why we have this rage? If you want to know why people who are thinking people in New York today have the rage that you're hearing here, you know, you have to understand the officer followed a man who was unarmed, who did nothing
And innocent of
provocative,
any crime,
who was
that's right.
innocent of anything at the time and afterwards, followed him to his home, went to his door without a warrant, without any rationale at all, entered
the
his
apartment.
home, his castle, his home, and killed him, shot him in the head. All right? That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not something you can explain away as a badly trained officer.
Exactly.
All right? It represents what went on in 1930s Germany. It went on in 1920s Italy. It went on in 1960s Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. We know what it is.
Also, I just want to say that after the fact, okay, when they had totally searched the home and they knew there was no weapon and they knew this person committed no crime, he had no weapon, it was a mistake, they could be seen on the videotape leaving the home laughing, okay? And if you didn't see that, if you went to court, the first day that they were all to appear in court, it made all the front page news and the papers. His fellow officers were patting him on the back and commending him after he posted his bail and was released. So where is your remorse that you took the life
Or even
of an
taking it
innocent
seriously.
young man?
Oh,
How
they
do
say-
you get
they
up
say
there
Dana
and you
had no remorse?
commend the officer who just murdered a young man in cold blood? And I'll give you another one. Chantel Davis
Okay.
was
Chantal Danette,
chased was chased on a New York City street in an unmarked police car, okay, until she crashed into a pole. And the police officer demanded her to get out of the car. Not, is she all right? Is she injured? But get out of the car. The witness say she couldn't get out the car because the airbags had imploded. So what does he do? He shoots her.
Oh, dear.
Shoots her. But according to him, it was an accident. What possessed you to approach a car that just crashed with your gun drawn in the first place, if your story is true? And this detective that killed this 23-year-old black woman has 6 lawsuits against him already for where he brutalized and nearly killed other people.
And do you understand
Well,
that a
what do you
civil
think-
lawsuit against a police officer impacts nothing on their career? Nothing.
Exactly.
You could have
So
6
why should they
lawsuits,
care?
lose every single one of them,
And this
it means
is exactly
nothing.
why they take people's lives and
I
they
know
don't
that.
care. They're not affected. The city pays, whoop-de-doo. They don't care. But the city backs these officers that commit these crimes. 4 of those lawsuits were settled, okay, to prevent the victims from taking him to trial. 2 are yet pending. So I want to know, how in the world can the district attorney refuse to take action against that officer because he says he's not sure that any wrongdoing has been committed, and he tells the family, you have to go and find witness as to what occurred? You got 6 lawsuits that bear witness what kind of detective this was. But he's still on New York City's police force, and he's still getting paid.
But the lawsuits
Now, what do
mean
you
nothing.
think about it, like periodic psychological testing? Because it seems to me that there's some kind of pervasive problems with anger, like where you see the same officer has been accused of brutality again and again, and finally he kills someone.
I don't believe that it's anger. I believe that when you live in a climate that commends, you know, and endorses your ability to be brutal, your ability, you know, to reel them in, arrest as many as you can, brutalize them, you know, show no weakness.
So the problem's
That's the job.
institutional, not individual.
Yes, you're well looked at among your peers and your superiors when you're that officer. You know, it's almost like being in the military.
Yeah, you get
You know,
you actually
well, it has
rise.
similarities.
You
to the
rise,
military,
you rise up
absolutely.
in the ranks, and you're respected among your peers and your commanding officers because you're that officer, you know, that shows no weakness. You have no sympathy, no sorrow, because they are criminals. That's what they tell you. They are criminals. You are serving society. Do not have sympathy for criminals. You know, they get what they deserve. And society believes that. They get what they deserve.
I don't know if I mentioned, I saw just before I came here, somebody sent me a link to a video from Newtown, Connecticut, and they had a Connecticut State Police official speaking, and he was threatening people. He says, if there's misinformation on the internet about what happened here, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of we're in touch with federal authorities, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of federal and state law for posting inaccurate or information on the internet. And I find it very interesting because this, to me, is another sort of, now they're saying that we can't be here talking about this, that are we spreading false information because we're not spreading the official information from the government, that there's an official line, and if you do not
deviate
from it, you're in violation of federal and state law?
Well, see, this is also the reason why we are demanding national action, because it's gone way overboard. They have literally...
It's not just local.
Exactly. It's across the United States. It's like they have made police God of the street, okay, with the ability to take life at will. You know, if they want to arrest you, they arrest you. If not, if not. And whether you committed a crime or not, it doesn't matter. Police are the only individuals that are allowed to kill a person, unarmed or not, and their testimony is taken as fact. In any other criminal case, the criminal's testimony is suspect, because you know that whatever he says, he's going to say in defense of his own self. Nobody's going to take his account of why he did what he did seriously. But as a police officer, your word is taken as fact.
Right.
If a police officer abuses you, chew up, and you did nothing, you could show your hands, have no weapons or anything, and you did nothing, all he has to do is say, he assaulted me. Yeah. And he will be believed, and you will not. So that's the kind of power that they have, and it's dangerous. Yeah. It's dangerous.
So what is the solution? Is it to have a federal policy? Is it to have the federal government go into every police department and revamp how things are done? What do you think that the solution is?
And we are hoping that one of the things that the U.S. Attorney General does is exact punishment against officials who refuse to bring charges against police officers in the commission of their crime. As it is, there is no accountability. In the case of Ramarley Graham, Commissioner Kelly said, we're investigating, it's out of my hands, it's up to the DA to bring
whether he decides to bring charges.
And that may be true, because the district attorney is responsible for bringing about charges. However, that police officer violated departmental procedures. Okay, there was action that the commissioner could have taken as the commissioner of his department, which he should have.
In-house.
Right, yeah. And which he should have, because his officer did not follow police procedures. Okay, but even in that, he did nothing. He allowed him to remain on the force and receive pay. So that right there shows the position.
It's like rewarding someone.
Yes, they take no action. Even where they can take action, they take no action.
Yeah.
If police officers knew that they would be subject to the same criminal charges as everybody else, the majority, if not all, of the brutalizations, the false arrests, and the murders would cease. But how do you expect a police officer to not do these things when he's commended for these things, promoted for these things, and he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt his whole entire police department is going to back him. No matter how heinous the crime, no matter how obvious it was unnecessary, they're going to back him to the hilt, as we've seen.
Justin Volpe,
okay.
30 years in prison, and he still is support. 30 years in prison, admitted what he did. Everybody saw what he did. He was found guilty of it, and still he is supported.
Danette, what do you think about the idea of unarming the police?
Like
Say
in
they
England.
couldn't carry a gun. Say they had to effect their job without firearms.
I don't know about unarming people that are supposed to protect people, but I do know about filing charges when a crime has been committed and holding
So you're
them
just asking them to
accountable.
follow the rules that already exist.
Basically, and that is the problem. There are rules and laws already in place.
They're simply
The
not
problem
being.
is nobody is following them. We go through season after season, incident after incident, and we create more laws, and they just ignore
If
them.
you don't put them into
They
effect.
ignore them
Right.
the same way that they've ignored all the other ones. We
Now,
don't want to
Danette,
do
tell
that.
everybody
Danette,
where to
yeah, we have
get
2 minutes.
the petition again. So if they want to sign the petition, if you're behind this petition, if you believe that the police brutality has gotten out of control all over the country, tell them where to go.
Change.org. Google change.org and type in National Action Against Police Brutality. It's all you need to
that easy.
remember.
Yeah.
Let's try one call. We'll see what happens. Hello, you're on.
Hello?
Hey,
Go
can I
ahead.
get 4 cheese coneys, no onions, an order of
He's making
fries?
a food order.
He's making a food order.
Wrong number.
Wrong. I
We're
think he
talking about something else.
well,
Or
that
if
broke
you-
the ice anyway.
Or if you're on Facebook, type in the search bar National Action Against Police Brutality. It's easy to remember. We want action across the United States against police brutality. National Action Against Police Brutality. Sign it. Encourage all your friends to sign it and let everyone know, because the sooner we get these signatures, the quicker we can move forward with this action.
Okay, great. Danette, thank you so much. This is an issue that has to be dealt with. I mean, there's so much attention on the tragedy that happened in Connecticut, yet it's really not part of any pattern that's increasing. It's happens in other countries. It happens at every, all throughout history. Horrible things have happened when mentally ill people have gotten hold of a dangerous weapon. But the real problem we have is right there in our streets, in every community in the country.
Yes.
The real tragedy and the tears that are falling, in families all over America. So it's time, I think, to get our priorities straight and worry less about the unusual, which grabs the headlines, and more about the everyday horrifying things that are happening in our society. Thank you, Danette Chavis, for joining us.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.